guys, I'm Anna O, and today I'm changing the rear differential fluid in my 2005 Chevrolet Trailblazer. GM doesn't specify a maintenance interval for this in the owner's manual. The Haynes manual does, at 60,000 miles, I believe. And I've had this car 12 years and put 140,000 miles on it and have never changed the differential fluid. So it'll be interesting to see what we get today. Okay, the tools I use to do this job include two different breaker bars, one at a 1/2 inch drive and the other at a 3/8 inch drive. I have two ratchets, 3/8 inch drive and a 1/2 inch drive, a 1/2 inch impact extension, a 1/2 inch to 3/8 impact adapter, a 13mm impact socket, a 13mm regular socket. They don't have to be deep like this. It's just what I had on hand. You might need a screwdriver. I didn't really need it. A torque wrench capable of going down to 10 foot-pounds and up to 20 foot-pounds. A catch can of sorts and a receiving vessel to transport the used gear oil and a funnel if you need that. You'll need 2 quarts of 75/90 synthetic gear oil, and I'm using a bit of tubing to be able to get the fluid back into the differential. You may need a wire brush and some anise, safety glasses, shop towels or rags, some brake clean, and some sort of penetrating oil. And you'll need a replacement gasket. I soaked the fill plug and the rear differential cover bolts in penetrating oil the night before and 2 nights before, planning to start the work in hopes that we might be able to get these bolts and fill plug free a little more easily. My fill plug is not budging at all, even with this 18-inch breaker bar, so I am going to try and use the breaker bar with the jack that came with my car to see if we can crack it loose that way. And I'm using another 18-inch breaker bar wedged between the drain or the fill plug and the chassis to hold it in place as I raise the jack. This year of Trailblazer does not come with a drain plug on the differential the way some of the previous years did, so the back cover is going to have to come off in order to change the fluid. And before you take the back cover off, you definitely want to make sure that you can actually get the fill plug out first. Otherwise, you risk not being able to refill the differential once the cover is replaced. I should probably mention the fill plug accepts a 3/8 inch square drive, and I'm using the impact extension and adapter. Yes! Yes! Oh, gotcha, bitch. Alright, that's okay. Oh, it smells awful. Get your catch can handy and replace the fill plug for safekeeping and to keep any debris out. To remove the differential cover bolts, I'm using a 1/2 inch drive breaker bar with a deep 13mm impact socket. I initially tried to remove the bolts using just a regular chrome vanadium socket and it broke. So impact was the way to go for me. And these bolts are super snug, so I am just cracking them all loose and working them back and forth to minimize the risk of breaking any of the bolts off. Once all the bolts are cracked loose, add a little more penetrating fluid if you want. And now I'm just removing all of the bolts except for the very top one and the very bottom one. Remove the top bolt last so the cover doesn't fall off. Mm. clean the inside of the cover using a paper towel or a rag, getting the magnet clean too. You get a look at the shavings. Remove the old gasket. And I'm using a little bit of brake clean to remove any remaining residue and really clean up the mating surfaces on the differential cover and also on the differential itself before reinstalling. Install the new gasket. And you can use the top and bottom bolts to hold the gasket in place as you reinstall the cover on the differential. Tighten the top and bottom bolts by hand, and then reinstall all of the bolts, just tightening by hand initially. We're going to make 2 passes with a torque wrench, the first at 10 foot-pounds and the second at 20 foot-pounds, moving in a crisscross pattern both times. Let's do it again with 20. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. Oh my god. My triceps are dead. I'm just using a bit of tubing that I have around the house to make refilling the differential simpler. You could also use a hand pump if you have one of those. Add 2 quarts of the 75/90 gear oil to the differential. And if you use this method with a bit of tubing attached to the nozzle, be careful to not squeeze too hard or the tubing may pop off. Check the depth of the fluid. It should come up to about a 1/2 inch below the fill hole. Okay, good. I'm applying a bit of anti-seize to the fill plug just in case I ever have to do this again and may need to get that plug back out. Reinstall the fill plug and tighten it down with a ratchet. Clean off the surfaces with a little brake clean and keep an eye out for the next couple of days to make sure there are no leaks. Look at how opaque this is. You can't see any kind of light through there. Yep. That's what 200,000 miles of differential fluid looks like.